Hello students, today I am going to discuss on the topic Lower Paleolithic culture, particularly on Clactonian and Levallois. Let me first introduce about this topic. In the Lower Paleolithic cultural phase, we have come across two distinct industries. They are core industry and flag industry. In the last module, that is module number 101, we have discussed about the core industry which have two traditions, that is Abelian and Acheulean. Now we are going to discuss on the flag industry. This industry has also two traditions, that is Clactonian and Levallois. The Clactonian is a tradition represented by core and flag assemblages. It is named after the type site at Clacton-on-Sea in Essex, England, but it does not represent the earliest human occupation of the British Isles. This tradition coexisted with the Acheulean tradition. This Levallois tradition is represented by flag tools. It is also named after the type site at Levallois Parade in Paris, France, where the flint artifacts show their distinctive traits. The Levallois technique denotes to a distinctive type of stone knapping. Now let's come to the Clactonian tradition. The tradition was first defined on the basis of the artifacts collected from Clacton-on-Sea by Dean Warren in 1911. The artifacts include chopping tools and flags of flint and the tip of the worked wooden shaft along with remains of giant, elephant and hippopotamus. Later on, similar artifacts have been found at other sites also. This tradition involves strikingly thick, irregular flags from the core of flint, which was then employed as a chopper. The flags would have been used as crude knives or scrapers. Retouching is uncommon and there is prominent bulb of percussion on the flags, indicating use of a hammerstone. The typical artifacts are flags, single-edged choppers, and chopping tools. The flags have large, high-angle, plane striking platforms and prominent bulbs of percussion. These flags were removed from roughly prepared discoidal cores by the stone hammer or the stone anvil technique. The Clactonian artifacts are also differentiated from other Acheulean tools by the presence of notches and grooves, indicating that they were once attached to wooden or bone halves. It is evident from a find at Clacton site, that is a well-preserved shaped wooden shaft. The Clactonian tradition is dated at around 400,000 years ago. Now come to the Clactonian technology. Clactonian cores are commonly perceived as technologically crude, especially when compared to hand axes, apparently reflecting use of simplistic, somewhat haphazard anvil technique. According to John McNabb, there are no tangible technological differences between the cores and the flags found in Clactonian and Acheulean assemblages, and no single or group of technological features which could be used as characterize Clactonian tradition. Now come to the typology of Clactonian artifacts. According to Dean Warren, the Clactonian artifacts can be classified as pointed nodule tools, choppers, X-edge tools, discoidal forms, and flag discs, side scrapers, bill hook forms, and scrapers, concave scrapers, bulb scrapers, sub-crescent forms, proto-Mousterian plaque points, piercers, plaques, cores, anvil stone, and notches, etc. Now come to the Clactonian sites. Clactonian sites are located in different areas of Britain. Some of the important sites are listed below. Number 1. Clacton-on-Sea in Essex. Number 2. Swanscombe in Kent. Number 3. Glove Pit, Little Turok in Essex. Number 4. Purfleet in Essex. Number 5. Barnham, St. Gregory in Suffolk. And number 6. Cookstone in Kent. Now let's come to the newly discovered sites of Happisburgh and Peckfield. The Happisburgh site is located in the Norfolk, from which flint tools over 800,000 years old were unearthed very recently. In 2010, Simon Parfitt and his colleagues from the University College London discovered flint tools near Happisburgh. These were dated to around 100,000 years earlier than the finds at Peckfield. The flints were probably laid by hunter-gatherers of the human species Homo antecessors, who inhabited the floodplains and marshland that border an ancient course of the Thames River. The flints were washed down by the river and came to rest at the Happisburgh site. Recent work at Peckfield and Happisburgh by Simon Parfitt and his team have not only pushed back the timing of the earliest human colonization of northern Europe, but also shown that early humans were capable of living in a range of different environments. These two sites have demonstrated that human occupation of northwest Europe may date to around 700,000 before present, rather than around 500,000 before present as previously thought. Now come to the Clactonian site of Southfleet Road, Ipsfleet. Archaeological excavation at Southfleet Road, Ipsfleet in Kent have yielded a complex sequence of Middle Pleistocene sediments containing stone artifacts and fossil remains. An incomplete skeleton of straight-tusked elephant, Paleoloxodon antiquus, was found in lacustrine sediment in close association with cores, flax, and nose flax tools. These finds suggest in situ tool production and butchery of the elephant carcass. Now let's come to the next point, the Lower Paleolithic site at East Farm, Barnham, Suffolk. Excavation at the Lower Paleolithic site at East Farm, Barnham, Suffolk is important for understanding the British Lower Paleolithic sequence. Since 1930s, the area of the Barnham and Swanscombe have been very important for the British Paleolithic studies, which yielded a series of Clactonian tools overlain by a single Acheulean tool tradition. The site of East Farm is also rich in paleontological material. On the basis of the excavations at the site of Barnham, Nick Aston and his team have suggested that the Clactonian is contemporary with the bypass manufacture, and that the notion of Clactonian and Acheulean industries being culturally distinct is incorrect. a more complex interaction of landscape and human dynamics appears to have influenced the industry types involving the quantity and quality of raw material, the position of the raw material in the landscape, and above all, the desired uses and movement of that raw material by humans. Now let's come to the relation between Clactonian and Acheulean. The exact relationship between the two components of the British Lower Paleolithic, Clactonian and Acheulean, is the subject of much debate. Assemblages without handexes are also found in different parts of Europe, although less commonly. Depending upon the other characteristics, including the technology of manufacturing flax and the types of the flax tools, these have been considered to be Acheulean without handexes. Now let's come to the next point, recent views on the Clactonian. The Clactonian is commonly envisaged as a distinct autonomous technology separated from the Acheulean, specially represented by several occurrences in southern Britain from the earlier zones of the Hoxinian interglacial. This technology was described as having had characteristically produced heavy, large, thick flax with plain, deep, wide, inclined striking platforms, protruding cones, swollen bulbs, conspicuous bulb skirts, ripples and fissures, and wide flagging angles. Later, a reappraisal led Hesley-Dine Warren to shift the former emphasis from the Clactonian as a flag industry to a core industry, the most typical core forms being the biconical and conical ones, along with the proportional abundance of chopper cores. In a recent paper, J. Weimer discusses about the chronology and significance of the Clactonian and Acheulean industries in Britain on the basis of the three sites on which both Clactonian and Acheulean flint industries in primary context are found during excavation. The three sites are Clacton-on-Sea in Essex, Hoxne in Suffolk, and Swanscombe in Kent. Weimer concludes that the Clactonian has a long history dating back in time to the latter part of the Anglian and continued to at least the early temperate zone of the Hoxnian. Both the Acheulean and Clactonian industries were produced by people with preference for occupying river and marsh or lake environments. Recent work on the British Quaternary sequence and Paleolithic archaeology defines the Clactonian assemblages as: Number A. It is a generalized lower Paleolithic industry in which unprepared core and flag reduction dominates the assemblies. Number B. There are very rare occurrences of bifacially worked tools, which are termed non-classic bifaces. Number C. The core and flag reduction is inseparable from the assemblages. With handexes, choppers may be present but are not unique identifiers. Number D. The presence or absence and technological or conceptual approach to bifacial tools such as handexes clearly divide the Clactonian from the Acheulean. Number E. The Clactonian does not represent the earliest occupation of the British Isles, but has a recurrent occurrence. Number A. It first appeared at the end of the Anglian, persists through the earlier Hoxnian, and is then replaced by assemblages with handexes. Number G. Handex assemblages do not seem to have been contemporaneous with mono-handex 1. Number I. Clactonian and Acheulean belong to the different sub-stages of interglacials. Levallois technology is a method of making flake tools named after the type site of Levallois parade in the Paris suburb of France, where flint artifacts show their distinctive traits. The Levallois technique denotes to a distinctive type of the stone napping instead of breaking off a flake and working on it to produce the desired shape. The core was carefully prepared. Each sides were trimmed and flakes were then systematically removed from its surface, from the center outwards in all directions. Then a striking platform was created by flattening the top of the prepared core, and perpendicular blows were struck at that point, either directly or through an intermediary tool. The flake detached in this way was thin, roughly triangular or oval in shape, with a clean undersurface and shallow, centrally directed flake skirts on the upper side. It would need very little further working because its edges were already sharp. It is because of the fact that the course of a Levallois flake is like the shell of a tortoise. Hence, it is also known as tortoise core. This technique can be used to produce only one flake at one time. On the striking platforms of typical Levallois flakes, small vertical flake skirts, also known as facets, may be observed, and the skirts of the converging core preparation flakes are retained on the upper surface. The use of this technique resulted in the production of not only of symmetrical flakes but also of larger ones in proportion to the size of the core. Classic Levallois is identified at the site of the Levallois parade involves the radical trimming of one surface of a large core, often known as a tortoise core. Pointed Levallois are also the classic Levallois flakes. In this case, the flakes happen to end in a point that is also possibly intentional, formed by the interaction of the skirts of two carefully judged sub-parallel previous removals. In contrast to the Levallois flakes, the Levallois points are triangular flake ending in a point known as Levallois points. This tool making technique is found in the lower Paleolithic period, but most commonly associated with the Mousterian flake industry of the Middle Paleolithic period. The distinctive forms of the flakes were originally thought to indicate a wide-ranging Levallois tradition, but the wide geographical and temporal spread of the technique has rendered this interpretation obsolete. Hence, at present, Levallois is considered as a technique of tool making rather than a distinct culture by itself. Students, now let me come to its concluding part. Acheulean and Clactonian tradition were replaced by Mousterian tradition at the end of the Lower Paleolithic cultural phase, with the emergence of Neanderthals in Europe, who created a more advanced technology. The Clactonian is a core and flake assemblage for the European Lower Paleolithic flag industry. Likewise, the Levallois is also a flag tradition of the same cultural phase. The earlier belief of the Levallois as a distinct culture has been redefined, and now it is considered as a technique of stone tool making rather than a distinct culture. Thank you all for patient hearing.